All right, everyone, class is about to start. Take your seats. Welcome to UGC 101, the podcast about all things user-generated content.
Welcome back to the UGC 101 podcast. I'm your host, Nate Flake, and today we're starting out this episode a little bit differently. I wanted to start using the beginning of these episodes to highlight nonprofits that are making a huge difference in their community. The one I want to start with and share with you today is especially close to home. It's called the Boyer Battle. It's a nonprofit organization that my brother and sister-in-law started with another family after my nephew Knox was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis over 8 years ago. Instead of letting that diagnosis define him, they turned it into a mission to fight for Knox and for every other family facing this. The Boyer Battle is about awareness, funding, and hope. One of the cool ways they raise awareness is support through their salty merch line. So if you notice, I have a salty hat on right now. For any of you guys watching the clips on social, people with cystic fibrosis naturally have saltier skin, and they've taken that trait and turned it into a cool symbol of strength for the community. Every shirt or hat helps spark conversations and fund a better tomorrow. So these guys are based out of Gilbert, Arizona, and they throw some amazing, cool events every year that raise money for cystic fibrosis research. If you'd like to learn more or support the mission that Knox inspired, head over to theboyerbattle.org. I will list it in the show notes. So today we are talking with Sam Wolf. Sam, I super appreciate you hopping on. Can you introduce yourself and who you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm Sam Wolf. I'm the head of creative and partner at a performance marketing agency called Hype 10. We're based in Manhattan, Chelsea, New York. And we do everything from paid media to creative strategy. Nate here is on our UGC creator team, which we'll talk a lot about today. But yeah, got into the business about 9 years ago, been specific to performance marketing, had worked at a lot of small agencies, big agencies. Hype 10 brought me on about a year ago to kind of build out the entire creative department, and really excited to kind of chat, what has happened in the past 12 months here.
Yeah, I love that. So I've chatted with you a little bit before we started recording. Like, I've had a lot of UGC creators on here. I've had a lot of people that run platforms and different tools for UGC creators. Who I haven't talked to yet is somebody from the agency side. Us as UGC creators want to think that, like, hey, UGC is the freaking end all be all. It's the future of everything marketing. So it's good to get the perspective of somebody besides myself or another UGC coach or UGC creator. And I really want to dive into your story of how you got there, what Hype 10's all about, how you built out that arm, but also just from a creator side, tips and tricks, and how do you stand out with agencies? There's so many creators out there. And as you know, you probably get crazy amount of inquiries every day, right? Of people trying to work with you guys. So let's start with that. What is your background in? How did you end up at Hype 10?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an odd path that I took. So I went to the University of South Carolina. I was really, really interested in working on Wall Street, actually. So I went in as a double major in international business and finance. And about a semester and a half in, I decided I can't do math. I'm not great at it. And moreover, anything, in my pastime, I was a photographer. I was doing graphic design.
Oh, cool.
And I kind of just figured, my dad has always tells me all the time, two things: be a leader, not a follower. And secondly, find something that you love to do and you'll never go to work a day in your life. Right.
Yeah.
So I switched my major to visual communications, which was more, what I do now, right? Graphic design, learning about the digital space in terms of advertising, copywriting, all of these really fun things. And I fell in love with it. And when I graduated, I had two paths that I could choose, which was the agency side or go in brand.
Yeah.
And I had a really interesting and cool opportunity to go work for Ford Motor Company. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Very much so a big automotive part of the country right up there. And so what I had the opportunity to do was start working with dealerships in the Lake Erie, Pittsburgh region, doing all of their digital marketing. So their website design to running their Facebook ads, making the Facebook ads, LinkedIn, everything, right? Wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah.
This was in 2018. So still just kind of like the Wild West in terms of advertising on Meta. So it was a ton of fun. And I stayed there for about 3 years. And at some point, I kind of wanted more of a challenge. And I wanted to work with like D2C e-commerce brands. I had friends in the agency world that were doing that. And, shout out to my buddy, Teddy Gordon, one of my good friends from home. We went to college together. He actually, reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in interviewing for a creative strategist position at a company called the Snow Agency in Miami. So I was like, I absolutely would love to interview for a company based in Miami, Florida. And fortunately enough, I got the job and jumped on board, and it was a fantastic experience. More of a startup world, owned by Dan and John Snow, who are now very successful in both their own rights. With different companies. Snow Agency was acquired by Avenue Z. And in that sense, I was growing as a creative strategist, working on tons of different accounts and so many different verticals, and I fell in love with it. I love just the chaos of the agency life. I love to solve problems.
Yeah.
So I really fell in love with just like the processes of it all, the copywriting, testing, and while I am a creative, I really enjoy seeing results, right? And understanding the results. So this felt like a dream for me coming all together and like the things that I really enjoyed to do. So I stayed down in Miami for about 2 years, and then I got the opportunity to go work for Power Digital Marketing, another fantastic agency. And over there, I started as a senior strategist and very quickly became the associate director of performance marketing, which was a fantastic job. I love everybody at Power Digital. But then after being a year and a half, W Promote, which is also a very large agency, came kind of knocking on my door for a director of performance marketing position. So I moved over there, and it was a lot of fun to see. W Promote has around 1,000 employees, I believe. So it's a very, very large agency, right? Very dissimilar to what I was doing at the Snow Agency. We had about like 30, 35 people, right? So kind of working my way up, right, in terms of small, medium, large agency. Now Power Digital is massive, like W Promote is. And when I was at W Promote, I really got to learn about leadership, building a department, the sales side of things of that nature that really piqued my curiosity of, building departments. And that's when I really fell in love with like building processes around creative strategy and leading people in general. As I mentioned, my dad's kind of saying there of like, be a leader, not a follower. I take that to heart every day. And I really enjoy leading and teaching individuals. So, working there, I absolutely love W Promote, and just, the opportunity, Max kind of came knocking on my door, the CEO of Hype 10 and founder, and asked me if I would be interested in interviewing for the head of creative position here to come build out the department and also become a partner in the business. So opportunity I couldn't pass up. Through those rounds of interviews, I knew that it would be a perfect match, just generally in terms of what we were trying to accomplish. So over the past year, I've had the opportunity to kind of build from, I think we had 3 creative clients when I joined Hype 10, and now we're hovering around 30. So awesome. Over the past 12 months, we've really built it out. We're, in a big hiring round right now for creative strategists and graphic designers, just really rapid growth from the entire company, but mainly on the creative side of things. We've been growing really rapidly over the past 12 months. And in that, we built our UGC creator program. Working at different agencies, it was really hard to get content quickly, right? And I'm sure we'll start to talk about this in a little bit. And that's something that I was passionate about because UGC is just a massive lever, right? I always say this is like in performance marketing, you want to feel like this is organic. You're seeing something that feels like you're FaceTiming with a buddy or a friend or just generally like a recommendation from a friend. I think that's just where we see fantastic performance, but there's balance to strike. And I know that we'll get into that as well. But yeah, that's kind of a 10,000 foot view of, where I was and kind of how I got to Hype 10.
I love that. So they weren't doing any UGC before you got there.
They were doing some UGC, but it was more so in the realm of, like Billo, backstage and things of that nature, and just generally found like the lead times to get the content and the edits back was a little bit longer, right? Just, on those platforms, trying to go through third parties and all of that stuff, rather than working with creators directly. Which I think is just, once again, just the best way to do it. So back then, just a little bit less, once again, working with more third party vendors.
Well, like your point, like I have a whole like community and course on Fiverr, right? But there's some definitely some drawbacks, right? The other thing is, I was thinking, this just happened yesterday. Fiverr did a pretty massive layoff. I don't know if you saw that. 30% of their workforce. So, and that's more employee affecting than it is freelancer affecting, but it's like, it gave me a little pause. I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't put every egg in one basket, right? Like, I do a lot of my work through Fiverr, but to your point, working directly with the creator is like the communication has got to be way faster than having to go through and wait, because you're probably working through these platforms. You're having lead times that are a lot longer than working direct too.
Exactly.
That's interesting. So tell me, so you get to Hype 10. What was like the first big task on the UGC side that you're like, okay, this is like something that because it sounds like you went through your experience, you have all this creative strategy, all this marketing, all this performance marketing experience. Mm-hmm. What was like your first thing you wanted to build out, or your first priority?
Yeah. So I'm a big organization guy. So my first thing that I did when I got to Hype 10 was build an entire resource center for the creative team. I love Milanote. I'm not sure if you've ever used Milanote, but it's a really fantastic platform for like creating briefs, for organizing things. Very much so for like creatives who are like visually based. Yeah. And that was my first thing. Was I built out this resource center with templates, client boards, our kind of like UGC roster, and generally like a one-stop shop for any question that you had. You could go into the resource center and ask it. And from there, once I had that organized, then I started, to your point, to think about, okay, what's the next lever that we can pull here that will really bring value to our creative offering? And I worked with Max, as well as Alex, our COO, to really start dialing in the idea of this creator program. And over, I would say, the first like 3.5 months of me being there was the ideation phase, right? Yeah. Like anything, where we wanted to build it the right way. We didn't want to just like jumpstart it and just get it going and be like, wow, right? I'm a very big proponent of building things that can scale, even if it's small when you start it, right? Your processes should be able to scale as they keep going and not break. Yeah, that's a big thing that I preach. So we figured out how to do that. And then from there, we actually onboarded only 2 creators, and we started to see fantastic results in terms of performance, right? To the point that you made earlier, and that we were a little bit chatting about, of like quicker turnaround times, right? We have a Slack channel, right? You and I talk almost every day in the Slack channel, right? Yeah. And it's just much easier to ask questions to like, hey, actually, I have an idea. What do you think about this, right? It should be a collaboration. I think working with UGC, creators like yourself in the agency world, right? A lot of the times, like, you just get handed a brief and it's like, okay, I'm just going to read this thing, but it's not genuine, right? So we try and leave some space to like make those questions available. And if you have a good idea, right, we want to make sure that we're listening, etc., because you're doing this all the time, right? And you can also see what works well. So I think, that was, as I mentioned, going back to your initial question, building out the processes. And then when we got to the creator team, it was just trial and error. What's working, what's not, getting feedback from the creators and getting feedback from our internal team, who are much more in the weeds, working with the creators, etc. Like, how do we organize this the best way? And how do we, make sure that we're arming ourselves, but we're also arming, you guys, the creator team, with everything that you need to create great content, right? So from then until now, we, once again, we're it's almost night and day in terms of the processes and the massive team that we have now.
Yeah, I love that. I love the whole communication and the fact that you guys are open to ideas, right? Like, I'm thinking about, like, so in July, I went, just a little kind of illustration of this. In July, I went to Japan with my family in Korea, and part of, and I didn't even plan this, right? Part of like I had been working with a suitcase company through you guys 2 months prior to that. I happened to like customize this bag to look exactly like the Japanese flag, black, red, and white. And I got there and I'm like, hey, I'm traveling with this thing anyways. Guys, I'm going to throw together some briefs and I'm going to do some, like, I'm in these train stations all the time. Like, I'm going to have my wife film me for a little bit. And then I was able to like say, hey, here's an idea that you had nothing to do with, that you didn't even ask for. Here's a bunch of cool videos that I think would play well because I'm in Japan, talking about how I'm so obsessed with Japan that I customized my bag to look like a Japanese flag, right? And it was cool to like get appreciation from you guys. It's pretty, I mean, I shouldn't say rare, but it's like, you don't really have that personal connection with a lot of the brands through platforms, for examples, right? For example, and you have no way of like even contacting them. It's an apply to the gig, and then after it's like zero contact. You can't even contact them if you want to. So I loved that because I feel like as UGC creators, like, I love getting briefs and I love getting just straight up instructions, but every once in a while, especially if it's a product I like I really like I love traveling. So suitcases and that stuff, I love that kind of crap, right? Like, it's like, it is a product that I'm actually going to use. Like, let me come up with some creative ideas that I came up with. And I loved how you guys were collaborative like that. And you weren't like, hey, we're good, we don't need any more videos from you. You're like, no, this is great. Here, like, this is cool. The brand might like this. And I think that goes a long way. And we'll probably get into this a little bit, but like, just as creators, one-off deals are cool. Grateful for them for sure, but like long-term relationships is like how we build stability, and especially people doing this full-time. I don't know if you know this, I just went full-time in July, so I'm not like, this is my full-time gig now.
Awesome.
And so it's a lot different than where it's like, hey, this is cool side money and I have a full-time gig and I'll get to it when I can. You have to take it a lot more serious once you go full-time on this. So I know from the creator side, we're way more appreciative of the relationship.
Yeah, and to that point too, right? And I know, once again, we talk a good bit, but and you've introduced us to a ton of fantastic creators. And right before this, I was just talking to one of those people, and we're bringing them on board, right?
Heck yeah!
And it was a really cool thing to hear from them. Of 5 months ago, I had no idea what UGC was. And now changed my entire life, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the power of it, right? It's like, find something you're passionate about, like, chase it. And like I said, then you'll never work a day in your life. And you're never too young or too old to like get into this. Like, it's every demographic is needed, right? We need to speak to audiences in that way. And I would just say to anybody listening to this, like, if you're interested in doing UGC, just go and do it. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? Go bet on yourself.
Yeah.
And you might love it, you might hate it, but go try. And I think that's the point of, your life, to your point. Like, it could change overnight, right? You could strike a brand deal and your videos are awesome and they perform super well and they bring you back. But to your point too, the way that we work, right? It's more of, I wanted to make a team, like, I wanted to make the creative program where it felt like y'all are a part of our creative team. You're not like, just contractors or something that we work with. Like, we work collaboratively together as a Hype 10 creative team, right? And you guys all have, brand deals that you're working with outside of us. But when you're working with us, on a monthly basis, right? It's just like being employed at a company where, that direct deposit hits, right? We're not invoicing or anything like that. It's just very similar to being, employee at Hype 10. And that's how I want it to feel, is a team setting, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the way that you win from the agency side and from the creator side of things in terms of relationships, is make people feel heard, right? To your point, like, I want you to go do what you feel is going to work well, right? You're working with tons of brands. You're going to know, right? So I think that's the idea behind the way that we work as a team and as a company, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. As you started to bring creators on, I want to kind of get into some advice for creators, okay?
Yeah.
So you probably have a lot of people reach out to you, right? Being an agency, you're probably listed on Google, right? Like, you probably have people hitting you up all the time.
Yeah.
What advice, you brought on a bunch of creators, what advice do you have for creators that are, quote unquote, interviewing to work with Hype 10 or to any other agency?
That's
Like,
a fantastic.
give me the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Like, I mean, you don't have to name names or dox anybody, but like, tell me, like, hey, here's what's really bad, bad thing to do. Here's what I recommend doing. Like, how do people stand out? You know?
Yeah, no, I think, the main thing is like, I think like professionalism, right? Like we're like, when we're chatting, it's a job interview to an extent, right? And not even maybe to an extent, it is a job interview.
Yeah,
And it's, we're going to ask maybe sometimes like tough questions and, about like, what is your experience, about, create content creation and creative strategy. But, I think it all boils down to the point of like, if you can make good video, then you can make good video, right?
yeah,
And so I would challenge anybody listening to this, to this question is like, make sure your portfolio is ironclad, right? Like take time to work on that, whether it be a Canva site, whether it be, like a Wix or a Squarespace, like make it look really nice and really put yourself on that pedestal. Like you've worked hard, so show it. And I've worked with, or interviewed and worked with people who have, videos in a Google Drive and things like that. That's fine, right? But what's more eye catching, right? Is it
yeah.
the Google Drive or is it your website where you're explaining who you are, brands you've worked with, you're ordering your videos in terms of industry verticals and things of that nature? That's what catches my attention because it shows me that you understand that. How do I phrase this? There are different styles of UGC needed for
Yeah.
different industry verticals. And as an example, right in the health and wellness space, and I just kind of posted this on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago, specific to like skincare and things of that nature, very like lo-fi UGC, like no captions, no B-roll, just talking head testimonial is crushing right now.
Really?
Why? Because it's just like, it's a recommendation. It's organic. It
Sounds like
feels,
a FaceTime. You're sending
yeah,
your
it's
friend
just
a video
very
on Marco
genuine.
Polo or something.
Yeah. And I think for products where like you're going to spend a lot of money and you can't try it first, right? It's e-commerce, it's D2C.
Yeah.
You want to like get that trust built. And so once again, going back to that main point of like understanding the differences between verticals and the way that you create a video or present yourself in those videos per vertical is really important to understand on the creator side. But also too on the agency side as well, is like giving that direction as to how do you do that. So I think, if you want to stand out, like make your portfolio ironclad.
Okay.
Add in, if you can, if you have NDAs, if you don't, like ask people what are like, hey, like what worked well? What of my videos worked well? And a great way to do that and kind of just, building that idea is a question to ask is this. If you want to look at like cost per acquisition or return on ad spend, I think those are two very specific metrics that are important for any agency right now or in general. So what you can ask the people that you're working with, whether it be like a one-off brand deal or if you have an ongoing agreement, is, hey, at the end of the month, could you tell me how my videos performed? What was the percent increase of return on ad spend based on the baseline average of the account over the last 30 days? Or what was the decrease of the CPA on my videos based on the baseline average on the account over the last 30 days? Like build up your numbers. And
Yeah.
if you can put numbers in a case study in front of an agency or anybody, like that's the biggest lever. Because with anything, right, we like if you want to purchase a product or anything like that, you want brand trust. You want to be able to know that you can trust the thing. And it's the same thing when you're going to hire an employee. Like I said, we're in a hiring round for creative strategists right now. And I reviewed a portfolio and all it was case studies. And I was so blown away by it. Like we hired this person on the spot. It was like, I've never seen a portfolio where it's just case studies.
Yeah.
And you're not talking the talk, you're walking the walk and you're showing it, right? And I think that's really important on both sides of the aisle here.
Yeah, I love that. Quick pause here. If you've been thinking about getting into UGC but don't know where to start, I put together a video course that breaks it all down for you. It's called UGC Fiverr Pro, and inside I walk you step by step through setting up your gigs, landing your first clients, and building real momentum, with Fiverr as the launch pad to other platforms and eventually to inbound deals and pitching. I've taught over 2,500 creators how to monetize their content through Fiverr, and many of them landed their first paid brand deals within weeks. Plus, when you join, you also get access to our private Discord community. It's where creators connect, you get to share wins, and you get a ton of support along the way. And since you're listening to this podcast, you can use the code PODCAST for 15% off. Just check the link in the show notes and grab the course today. All right, let's get back to the show. Going back to the portfolio real fast. So when you're talking about, I love asking this because every creator / UGC coach, I hate that term, has a different opinion on profiles, right? Or portfolios, excuse me. Like how I try to tell people, like, dude, the about me section doesn't need to be 4 paragraphs long.
Yeah.
Like how quickly are you going directly to the videos? Are you seeing the headshot and just scrolling? Like, give me I need to know this. Yeah.
So I think, like, interesting perspective from, me here, I think, is when you have to think about consumer behavior. This is going to be a weird little tangent, so stick with me.
No, I gotcha.
So, like, with anything, when we go and look for a product, right? If you're on your phone, something that we teach everybody, and we think about landing pages or websites in general, is that you want a quote unquote shoppable experience above the fold, which means we want to be able to shop before you shouldn't have to scroll to, like, add something to your cart or hit shop now. So when you're making a portfolio, you can think about it in a similar way. It's like, what's the most important information on this page? Put it first. And the most important information in your portfolio is your videos. So starting with the videos, and that's going to catch the attention of somebody, right? Reading, to your point, like a 4 to 5 sentence paragraph about me, that's fantastic. And I want to know about you. And I want to know about how you got into this. But what I really care about and what I really need to understand is how good are you at making video? How good are you at editing video, etc. So making sure that is at the forefront of your portfolio, in my opinion, is the most important thing to catching the attention of either a brand or an agency.
Okay. I love that. As I'm taking notes, like, go redo your portfolio. Mine's bad. I have admitted that publicly many times. I need to go update it. And to your point, like, I don't have mine are definitely not organized by, like, industry or by, like, UGC type, right? I know some people are like, well, you got to do a section for unboxings, then you got to do a section that's like all skits, and then you got to do, but, like, to me, I'm like, well, every industry could technically have all of those elements in it. So, like, why not do, I'm in Utah, here's outdoors videos, here's going to be your talking head in the car, here's going to be your unboxings, here's going to be your traditional UGC with starting on camera, doing a bunch of B-roll, ending on camera for the CTA. But yeah, I love that because I think a lot of people, like, I know in my community, right, I've taught over 2,500 people, and I would say the majority of them, their very first hiccup is like, well, I can't make a portfolio because it's like, it doesn't look cool yet, and, like, that's taken me a while. I'm like, dude, your design, like, make it professional, make sure the boxes all match up together, like, don't make it janky, but, like, your font doesn't matter. Just throw it in a regular template, because at least you can get something out the door. Because if to the point, I had a situation yesterday where somebody needed 7 mil creators, right? And I threw it in the group, and so many people just sent me their Fiverr links. And I'm like, guys, you gotta get a portfolio out the door. You've been in this group for months, so, like, get a portfolio. I know you have videos. Like, even if it's the most basic template, it's gonna be better than nothing, right? Even a Google Drive link is better than nothing. But, like, but to not have a portfolio at all is crazy, because you're overthinking if it's sexy enough, of the fonts and the color scheme. Like, who cares? Just get something that looks legit.
And I think too, like, to your point, for, like, anybody listening to this who's like, that is their roadblock, and you're like, man, like, for some reason or another, like, I really can't get a hold of, like, getting this to look good on a Canva site or a Wix or something like that. make a Google slide deck,
Yeah.
right? Like make a deck, and for each slide, just say, health and wellness, add in 4 videos, right? And that looks fantastic, right? That's how we build, that's how we showcase y'all on our creator team is we have a deck with your name, the link to your portfolio, and then we have 3 to 4 videos in your headshot. And
so
it's
that
like,
doesn't deter you. Like, that's not like, oh, these guys made a presentation. Like, that's fine for you.
I think, in my opinion, to your point, it's like, if it's your roadblock, get something out the door. Making a Google slide deck, you
like
can
V1.
make that look really nice, right? Like, there's
Okay.
so many templates that Google provides you with that you can make a really good portfolio using Google Slides. And like generally, more often than not, think about it this way too. So if you're presenting that to an agency and then you get on board with that agency, then it's very easy for like us to copy and paste the videos into our like our roster deck. So sometimes like it's super helpful to have that deck. Whereas then like when we onboard, I'm like, hey, here's 10 things that I need from you. Send me 3 videos, your headshot, this, that, and the other thing. And if you make a deck, it's all there and we can pull from it. I think the website is the end game, right? Like you want to be very like in a professional sense, right? Like if you're selling your services, you want to have a website where you have the ability for somebody to click and contact you or have your information. But if you need to get something out the door, I would say, hey, go make a Google slide deck, add in videos per vertical, per slide, and make it just look nice. Spend, an hour on it on a Sunday night when you're hanging out, right? Then you're good to go. And then from there, utilize that. And then in the meantime, start working on your website. And that can just take a little bit longer if you really want it to look super nice, right? So, I love the point that you made of like, just get something out the door. It doesn't need to be super pretty. It could be a Google folder. It could be this, but I think a deck is like the best route to go if you want that like in between of like a folder and a website.
Love it. Okay, cool. Yeah, that does not take long at all to do. Awesome. So next question I have for you is kind of on the same lines of the question I piggybacking off the other question about, what's the best advice? What is something you need? What's something you want to tell all the UGC creators? Like, hey guys, when you're talking to us or when you're trying to get in with us, stop doing this. Like, what's like a bad habit that you've seen that you would love to like help creators not do that shoots them in the foot?
That's a really good question, and just transparently kind of tough to answer because I think like, in my opinion, it's good to have like differing opinions on things, right? Like when we stop talking about like different opinions of things, like we all just like fall into one category, and like that's not what we want. Things start to look the same, things start to sound the same.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like be your genuine self is like one thing that I would say. It's like that's how you're going to create good content. But going back to the original question, the easiest thing that I can think of is like make sure your lighting is good. Like, make sure your lighting is good. And if you don't know how to pronounce something in the script,
you gotta
ask how to pronounce it before you shoot the video, right?
Do the whole video and then like it's that one little shot.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you pronounced the brand name wrong. And that goes on both sides though, right? Where maybe the agency or the creative strategist, like they've been working with a brand forever and they're like, okay, well, I know the name of the brand. Like I don't need to like write it out phonetically. But then you send it and the video comes back and it's incorrect. And you're like, oh man, like I should have spelled these things out phonetically. Yeah. And I think that's the thing is like ask questions. Like when you get the brief, ask questions, review it. If you don't, like I said, the biggest issue that we run into generally is pronouncing things wrong. And so if you have a question about it, just ask. And I think, that's where like the reshoots come into play, right? Reshooting things is the biggest pain for y'all. And then it delays timelines on our side too. So it's a, kind of shoots both of us in the foot. So I think on the agency side, we can be better in terms of saying like writing out phonetic spelling for words that are crazy, like, or like,
brand
working
names
with a fragrance brand where like the name of these fragrances like might be like, is it Brise? Is it Breeze? Like, how do you say it? And so that's on us to provide that information. But at the same time, too, I think asking questions, I think sometimes people get scared to ask questions. And in my opinion, like asking those questions is the way that you're able to become more collaborative with an agency that you're working with. But at the same time, you're going to cut down revisions, you're going to cut down time spent, etc. And I think, making sure your lighting is good, making sure that the product is presented, if you have, like a piece of clothing or something like that, it's not wrinkled, things of that nature, like just making sure that you are doing the things that I think, in my opinion, like you would want to see if you were a consumer, like thinking about it through that lens. Like as a creative strategist, we have to think about like, okay, like if I saw this ad, like would it catch my attention? Would it draw me in? Would I buy? And I think on the creator side, a good question to ask yourself when you're filming video and you're editing it is like, is this like, would I buy from this video? Like, is this something that would grab my attention? And what would I be, if I was watching this as a consumer, what would I be critical about this video? And I think like being introspective about that will lead to just like really fantastic video cuts and edits in general.
Love it. Yeah, I think over communication is like, if you're gonna err on the side of like over communicating, right? Especially when it comes to response time. I mean, the Slack thing you guys have going on makes it way easier, even for things like pronunciation. It doesn't have to be like, they could just grab a voice note for 2 seconds and say, this is how you say it, and they're like, oh, cool, now I know,
Exactly.
I don't have to worry about the phonetic spelling because I always mess those up, even when they do it phonetically. I'm like, what's the dash mean? It's
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask you some questions selfishly that I get a lot about UGC in general, right? You've been in the space for a long time. So like one of the big fears of UGC is that, hey, it's getting really saturated.
Yes.
People like me don't help that problem, right? Because like I said, I've taught 2,500 people how to do this in the last 6 months. So I'm probably like, maybe I'm saturating the market. I don't know. But you're talking about like, okay, we went from 3 brands to 30 in 12 months. How many of those brands had no idea what UGC is?
I would say a lot of the majority of them have an idea of what it means,
but like hadn't ever like tried it on their own.
I would say have never tried it on their own. Very interesting. For like, dude, honestly, probably like 65%.
That's wild. See, that's like exactly what I was thinking.
Leaning very heavily on like highly produced video and like GIFs.
Yeah.
And like don't have
influencer
any
ads or anything.
Yeah. Like when I do a sales audit, I know our sales audits are like extensive. Like we make 70 to 75 slide decks. We dive in holistically to the business, not only from like meta, but from every standpoint. And on the creative side of things, that's what I'm looking at. It's like, what is your media mix? Right. And if your media mix is uneven, where you don't have a mix of UGC and high production, then that's like a big call out. And it's something that I see a lot of. You have to think about it in the sense of the sales funnel. It's the same as if you're selling cars, you're selling anything. We have awareness, we have consideration, and we have conversion. In the awareness phase, high production is generally kind of what works well because you're introducing your brand to consumers who have never heard of you before. At the same time, though, there is UGC that is more long form, like a minute and a half, from an education standpoint that works really well there too. But when you start to move lower and lower in the funnel, where purchase intent starts to get higher, that's where it's like the more lo-fi, like the humorous skits, like that kind of content is really going to drive purchases because, okay, now the consumer knows who we are. Now we're presenting them with information that is trustworthy or video that's building trust a little bit more or feels genuine, like we both said, like a recommendation from a friend.
Yeah.
Or like is funny and you're like, I love this brand. Like these are funny people. I see myself using this product because they align with like my views, or even just like it's funny. Humor. I like these people. I want to purchase product from them.
Yeah.
So I think about things in that way of funnel phases, and once again, like how do you tailor content for each of these specific objectives?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's interesting too, because I for some reason I always thought UGC was more like top of funnel, right? Like awareness, but it makes sense. Like you don't want to have the first impression of your brand be this very lo-fi, very low
Right.
lift thing, right? You want it to be, and you think about your own purchasing habits of you're looking into a product, right? And then you go get drinks with your friends and your buddy starts talking about it. You're like, oh dude, I was already looking. Oh yeah. Oh, you have it? Oh sweet. Yeah, I'll buy it. Like you already are like 80% there,
Right.
but you just needed some validation from somebody else to then buy it.
Exactly.
So I that makes total sense. I had always thought that it was top of funnel, but I think that more highly produced professional stuff would probably make sense higher in the funnel.
Yeah, and as I mentioned too, like there is that balance that you need to strike though of like creative diversity. If Meta is pushing anything at us right now, it's creative diversity in that sure, we need high production stuff,
Yeah.
but we do also need like UGC long form video that's education based, like
Yeah.
green screen explainers, like how does this thing work? And something that I've noticed a lot of, and this is kind of just like a thought that popped into my head of things that are working well, like in our hooks and the way that we're filming video across the funnel phase, to be all across all funnel phases, to be completely frank, is like instead of saying like this like product name helped me do this, saying rather like this serum and then not naming the actual product or company until like the 20 or 30-second mark
Oh, interesting.
is going to increase, the engagement and conversion on your ad because people are curious, right? Like, you're being sold to if I say, hey,
The brand name immediately.
yeah, like,
Yeah,
hey,
that's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, hey, this product from X brand really helped me do like that's an ad scroll, right?
Yeah.
But if you say, for example, these insoles helped me get back on the golf course, they're like, whoa, like I haven't been able to golf in like 3 months because I screwed my knee up. Like, what are these insoles? And you keep watching, and then at the 30-second mark, you hear the actual brand name. But then at that point, you've been there for 30 seconds.
You're already neck deep.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
And that's what I'm seeing a lot of happening right now is just like the idea behind UGC. And even, UGC is just organic content, right? Repurposed for paid media and for testing purposes. And it's like at one point it was there and then it got more salesy. And now we're moving right back to this like circle and this cycle of like it's now more organic based.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I said, there's like Savannah Sanchez, like she's unbelievable, right? One of the people that I look at in this space that is one of the best like content creators, drivers of UGC in general. Like the hooks that she makes are extremely attention grabbing. And I think that works really well for some brands and for some brands that it doesn't. And that's what I mean, where like there's balance to strike, where you have to look at what is the objective of this brand, like what is their tone, and like really take that into account when you're making a video or just generally making a brief on the agency side. And then same thing on the UGC creator side of things.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I did like to your point, I'm thinking as you're talking, I'm like thinking about my recent projects, right? And one that I did that I actually didn't even mention the brand name. It was a TikTok shop video for a tripod. And I'll have to send it to you. It took me way too freaking long to do, but it's been my like best performing TikTok shop video ever.
Yeah.
Where I like took the security footage from my house and I broke into my own house.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm like, and I did like one of those, filters on CapCut that's like, it sounds like an announcer. I did the voiceover, but I just changed the voice of like,
yeah,
a man in Utah recently broke into a house and it was really weird. Like he only stole one thing and it like shows me outside with a selfie stick after I steal it, and then it's like I had my wife hold the red and blue light to my face. Looks like cops are there. And I'm like, this is just a really good freaking tripod. I'm able to use it with one hand. I'm gonna do this. But like, it was worth it. Take me away, And like that got really, because I'm like you're starting watching the video, this black and white footage of me in my yard breaking into my own house, Well, I didn't say the brand name once, and it's performed pretty well on TikTok Shop, but that's a good thing to keep in mind. I didn't even think about not naming the brand like super early on,
Yeah, it's like we want people to watch this entire video, right? That's always the goal. But we have very short attention spans, which is why we've always pushed like we need the most important information in the first 3 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see like maybe that's not, it's still important, but
Yeah.
where we're really seeing like long view rates is when we're like leading the people to
Yeah.
tell this story, or we're being more outcome focused and saying like this helped me do this helped me do X, Y, or Z. And then later in the video, it's like it was this brand and this product.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think definitely aligned there, and it's definitely a departure to what we saw work maybe a year ago for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's why UGC is so cool, because it's low lift. Like you can test these things. Imagine like you go pay like even influencer rate or something, or you go do this highly produced commercial, and then 6 months later it's completely out of trend or it's like not working anymore. You'd be pissed. But when you spent $200 on a 15-second video, and then it's 6 months later, you're like, oh, cool, that doesn't work. Cool, I'll just do another one, right? Like it's for brands, it's a drop in the bucket for them to be able to like pivot very quickly, which I think is why UGC is so awesome, right? Or like from you guys, hey, we did a brand, here's a brief. We're going to completely change directions this month, and it's very easy for us as creators, and we get to learn. So, but going back to my original question, I'm glad that you kind of validated what I'm thinking. Is a lot of people are like, there's so many creators. Like, yeah, there are a lot of creators, but there's not a lot of really great creators that stick with it. B, there's new brands coming online every single day with UGC, which was why I was asking how many of them knew what it was but haven't even tried it, and now agencies like yours or platforms are like really showing them the light, like, hey, this is like a legit thing. My next question is that same kind of on that same vein. It's like, where do you see, like, obviously there's a reason you placed a bet on UGC this year. Where do you see UGC going in the next 5 years? Everyone has a different answer to this. I would love to hear your take.
It's a great question. I think I'll start by saying this, right? Like, everybody's talking about AI. And every AI UGC video I've seen is horrible. And like, you can tell right away, right? Like, it doesn't match up the voice. Like, it's right.
Yeah,
like, you can use like, right. And even like, if you're a creator, like, you should be using like 11 labs for like AI voiceovers and stuff like that. So that if you're a male creator, right, like, you could still create some content. You could use a female voiceover, right? So like, you're expanding your opportunities that you have.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people would tell you in 5 years from now, AI is going to take over everything and all of that. I think it's going to be a part of it, right? In 5 years, like, think about how accelerated these things have become. Sure, it's going to be a piece of the puzzle, but like, we're all still human, and there's nothing more enticing than like a genuine human connection.
Yeah.
I do think that as we continue to move forward and AI starts to enter the marketplace, and we start to see like these TikTok-y edits that are like super fast paced and B-roll and stock footage and all of that, like, those work really well too. But as we keep going, I really do think that the more genuine a video is, and more like outcome focused a video is, of like, this thing really actually helped me in my life, and like, here's a story that ties back to how it helped me in my life. That is what's going to win, right? People are going to get really sick of being sold to, because they already are sick of being sold to. And when AI video starts to enter the marketplace, and you're just hit with like this, for a lack of a better term, like this just sloppy content, you're looking at this person's lips and you're like, well, they're not saying that.
Yeah. The voice is off, the intonation's off.
It's all off. It's just weird. I think it's just going to be increasingly important to make like this genuine content that maybe sometimes is a little bit more lo-fi, but like, the capability of AI, like, they can't go and create like a past me versus current me humorous skit, right? Like, you can't do that. So it's like thinking about things like that. And I think the creativity that content creators have and creatives have is what is going to win out as we continue to move forward. So it's like, how do you position the product in a really fun way that maybe feels more organic than it feels like an ad, paired with, once again, going back to creative diversity, ads that feel like a recommendation from a friend. Like that's
Yeah.
where I think we're going. We're in a similar spot now, but I think it's just going to become increasingly more important to start thinking about things in that way.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to add is it's interesting now. I don't know if you've seen this, but like on TikTok, for example, if I ever see an AI ad, like not those like obviously like obvious AI Yeti, or
Yeah.
Bigfoot videos, but like an AI ad where they're trying to make it like a look like a real person. The comments, dude, the mob comes after these people. Like the comments are like, AI, this is a joke. We're not
Yep.
buying. Like people get pissed, and I love it. I'm like, dude,
100%.
like get these guys out of here. Like you use AI for different things, but don't sell us with it. Like use it
Yeah.
for humor. I just want to laugh at these Yeti videos. You know what I'm saying? Like
100%. Yeah, I totally
and
agree.
so it's pretty interesting to see how quickly, and even there's some of these UGC platforms that are really pushing AI. Hey, we're an AI agency. Like we just need to use your likeness. I got caught up in one of those, and it was like the worst experience ever. And I'm like had no control of
So
what they were
weird.
using
Yeah.
my thing for. But yeah, I think there's this like, even if it's a subconscious pushback from the masses that are like, hey, we don't want, like no one wants that. And these
Yeah.
brands get cooked. These brands get cooked in the comments, and
Oh,
I
yeah,
hope
I
they
read it all
continue
the
to get
time.
cooked. Like I hope they continue to get cooked. So at least for our sake. So
Yeah, I totally agree.
yeah. Anyways, I know we're running up on time, man. I
Yeah.
super appreciate you, Sam. Any last words? I know we talked a lot about Hype 10. I'm gonna link your guys' site in the show notes so people can go check you guys out. Any last words or anything you want our listeners to know about Hype 10?
Yeah, about Hype 10, like I said, we've been around for 4 years. We're growing quite rapidly. I think that there is a huge benefit to working with small, scrappy agencies, right? There's just a lot more attention to detail paid. Not a knock on big agencies, right? It's just the way that things operate, where you have smaller teams, they're going to be paying a lot more attention to things, right? Like you and I, right, will message on like a Sunday night. Like I'm hanging out on my couch watching football. You're probably doing the same thing. But like we're going to be responsive to each other. And it's the same way that we talk with our clients. So I think if you're interested in working with us on the creator side of things, please reach out. My name's Sam Wolf on LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to talk. As well as, on the brand side of things, if you're watching this and you're looking for an agency and you kind of like what you heard here, like please reach out to us. We're, as I mentioned, growing really rapidly. And, I would like to say that we're a really fun team to work with, a really responsive team to work with.
I'll
And
agree. I'll
we see
second that.
fantastic results, over the past 6 months. And this is a testament to our creator team too. Our hit rate on creatives is hovering around 50%, meaning we're generating 50% of the ads that we make are winners. And I think
That's
the
awesome.
account, or not the account, but the industry average is around 25 to 30%. So I think that, as we look at what we're doing, the UGC creator program has really allowed us to see better performance across our book of business. So that's the Hype 10 thing. But I do want to, my parting messages is for creators in general, is like, bet on yourself. Like go out of your comfort zone to do something that you've been thinking about doing for months. Like just go do it. Like what is the worst thing that can happen to you? It's nothing, right? There's absolutely nothing. The best thing that can happen to you is what happened to you. Is like, this is my full-time thing now. I can support my family and my lifestyle just from, like, to your point, making these funny videos with my wife about how I'm breaking into my own house.
Yeah.
And once again, I've said it a few times here. You'll never work a day in your life if you found something you love to do, right? And I think that's my parting message to the audience is go find something you love to do. If it's UGC, fantastic. Bet on yourself. And when you bet on yourself, most of the time you'll always win. And if not, you're going to learn from your mistakes.
Love that. Love that messaging. I tell people that all the time. I think people get really scared that it's going to, like, just try it. You don't like it? You don't like
100%.
it, right? Worst case, you spend a little bit of time learning a new skill.
Exactly.
That you can use forever, right? And to your point, I think I know who you met with today. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can do this until you're like, I'm 37. I'm constantly being asked to do scripts, or like, I'm Jim and I'm 48 or I'm 50. Like I've had to say I'm 63 one time and use my teenager as my granddaughter. And because they don't have that many creators, right? So like you can do this until literally post-retirement. So
100%.
Anyways, I love it. Appreciate you, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much.
Okay, take it easy.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you found this episode useful or got you interested in starting your own UGC journey, go to the show notes, check out my UGC Fiverr Pro course. The entire thing's on video. I walk you step by step on how to set up your Fiverr, go beyond Fiverr onto other platforms, figure out how to get inbound deals, and also pitch through different platforms like X and Reddit. Go into the show notes. If you use the code podcast, the link is right there. You're going to get 15% off. I appreciate you guys listening. Thanks for subscribing, and we will catch you next time.